Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another Fireside Streams. I'm Amanda Farr, the home and lifestyle strategist at Fashion Snoops, and I'm so pleased to be here with a very special guest today, Clara Gaggero Westaway. Clara is the co-founder and creative director of Special Projects, a design and invention agency whose mission is to enhance the unquantifiable aspects of life, so empathy, well-being, and delight, with meaningful design and invention. And to do this, Clara and her husband, Adrian, who is also co-founder and director of technology at Special Projects, combine human insight, technology, and a little bit of magic. Clara and her team at Special Projects have worked with clients such as the BBC, Google AI, Samsung, the University of Oxford, and more, helping them to discover new opportunities and create tomorrow's most loved customer experiences and products. So today I'm going to be speaking with Clara in reference to our fall-winter 2022-23 sentiment, refuge. So to tell you a little bit about refuge, when it all becomes too much, we find relief in places that nurture, calm, and revitalize our soul. And whether that's by escaping to a lush utopia, cultivating comfort at home, or confronting anxieties within, the notion of refuge is multi-layered. Defined as a condition of being safe or sheltered from pursuit, danger, or trouble, the question of refuge lies in what we want that condition to be. So Clara and her work bring the sentiment to life so beautifully. I am so delighted to welcome her to our Fireside Streams today. So hi, Clara. It is such an honor to be speaking with you.
Oh, hello, Amanda. Thank you so much. Thank you for the beautiful intro.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Well deserved. So to dive in, before we really talk about the nitty gritty, more nerdy aspects of how you do what you do, I would love to just kind of talk a little bit about your story. Not only how Special Projects came to be, but where it all started for you. What has your journey been like so far, and how have you become you?
Thank you for asking that. Well, I think a Special Project, I'm one of the lucky few that really does the job, who really, I really want to do. Like every morning, I'm so happy to jump out of bed and go to work. Like it's my happy place. So I think I always dreamed of becoming a designer. I think in my head it was a designer, the right word. I think now with the years I understood that the right word was inventor. So I always dreamed of becoming an inventor. But I think this fascination for me about design and invention comes from my upbringing. Like I grew up in a tiny, tiny village on the mountains in Italy, on the Alps. And I was exposed to two very different worlds. Like my father had a mechanical factory that was creating machinery for car manufacturing, like for Ferrari, but also Fiat, BMW. So I saw the creation of all these robots and machines that were making cars and car parts. And my mom instead had a fashion store, a fashion boutique. So she was very gifted with anything visual, really, like, anything that was color, texture, shapes, was her word. And my father's word was very much about, mechanism and innovation. And somehow I was wondering, I was interested in the merge of the two things. And the work that we do right now, a Special Project, and the university I studied in were all aimed at finding the perfect balance in between science and art. So I guess that's that's how it all comes about from 4 years old Clara going to the factory and then to the shop, all the way to having this like crazy inventors agency in London.
Yeah, and that's amazing. I mean, I think so many people think about it like, especially when you have engineers. I mean, my parents are both engineers, and I ended up, in a very creative role that I would not compare to engineering at all. But so many people feel like it's one or the other. They have to choose between the science and the mechanical thought process versus the creative. And I think that's just really magical, as you guys describe it, how you know, bring it together, but how that was just naturally in you. You always were able to have both. I love that.
I was interested in both, and you know, now we just lost the how do you call it, the Duke of Edinburgh, you know, the Prince concert right now, and he we met him in a couple of occasions. He was continuing the work that Prince Albert, you know, the Queen Victoria's husband, started, and they were Prince Albert was a true believer of marrying science and art, and he started with the money coming from the exhibition of 1851. There was like a big fair that they did here in London. He started a set of charities and a set of organizations that were promoting exactly that. So, you know, they were giving scholarship. They created the Imperial College, the Royal College of Art. They had the College for Miners next to the College for Music. You know, I think in the UK, they really understood that balance of science and art very early on. But yes, yeah, it's good that you agree, and you are an example yourself, I guess.
Of course. You know, so it's saying all of that, I would love to dive into talking about you know, your design process. You know, you said you wake up and you're so excited to go to work, which is, I think, for the dream for most people. So do you wake up thinking of solutions, or, you know, how do ideas come to you? How do you strategize, you know, solutions for these problems?
So our process is quite methodical and is always the same, no matter what project we work on. So, you know, we worked on medical project, we worked on playgrounds, we worked on, you know, digital devices. Doesn't matter. The process is always the same. And so it has mainly, let's say, 4 or 5 steps. Like the first step is framing the problem. So we really spend time trying to understand the brief and really what is the problem there. Sometimes it's easy to have assumption at that point, and we try always to take them away, particularly from the client side. You know, sometimes they think we should concentrate in one direction or in another, and we try to push them to be as open as possible. Mm-hmm. Then the second phase is called explore, and in explore we basically really try and understand the landscape that this product or service needs to live in, and we look at parallel markets that can give us inspiration. Of course, we look at competitors, but really the parallel markets is where we get most of our insights. And then we interview experts and users early on, you know, before even having any ideas. So we really involve users as muses, you know, almost as a source of inspiration. Then after that, we sort of distill things in insights, so learnings that we have gathered from this exploration phase. And then we have a phase that is called imagine, in which we transform the learning into concepts. So here we really come up with ideas, but you know, sometimes this phase is like 2 months in the project. So we really force ourselves to absorb as much as possible first, not think of ideas, and then with all that knowledge, almost ideas come very naturally. Well, if you try and sort of sit there and force ideas without having seen the problem from many different perspectives and talk to many people, then it's very hard. And then the last phase is called Materialize. And then we really bring the ideas and the concept that we have created in Imagine to life. So we really create a complete vision of all we call them touch points. So all the points that you interact with a brand, might be the website, the product, the campaigns on Instagram, or the packaging, or you know, the related products, the service, the subscription, you know, all the touch points.
Yeah. So that's, you know, do you often know, I mean, I'm sure you know in advance, you know, we're going to be designing an app for this company, or a social interaction space for this other company? Do you ever have these really like open-ended projects where you don't necessarily know where you're going to end up?
We do. Most of our projects are very open-ended. So I think we build our reputation a little bit on being able to help company to find opportunity and to understand user insights on things they might not even know. So clients usually come to us with an intuition, but not with a solution. They don't know, like I think one client put it very well once. He said, if I know what I want, I go to, other agency, but if I don't know yet what I want, I come to you guys. So often our brief are really 2-3 words. And as you mentioned, Adrian, my husband and co-founder of Special Project, has a background in electronic engineering and computer vision. So it's very much a digital, he knows very well the digital world. I know very well the physical world. And then the staff, our team is a good spread of these skills as well. So in between all of us, we don't start a project thinking, oh, we will do an app because we are, digital agency, or we will do a product because we are a product design agency. We do exactly what we believe the project needs to have. So it could be a mix of the two, it could be just one, it could be the other. So that's why we help brave companies, because at the beginning, it's quite vague. People have to really sort of trust us and trust the process. It's getting easier and easier now with the portfolio and the endorsement, but at the beginning our first clients were very, very brave, I have to say.
Yeah. And that's such a testament to you guys and to them and to the industry, how not only technology, people think technology is the cutting edge of innovation, but watching other brands who aren't necessarily tech focused get into this and have that same level of trust is wonderful. I think that's where everything is headed. Yes. So I'd love to talk about, there's this one specific portion of your work that I think you guys integrate into pretty much everything you do. But it's this concept of digital well-being. A lot of your products, although they are very tech integrated, they appear physically very low tech. They're not overwhelming. There's not a lot of screen focus, and it's not loud and overbearing. So can you talk a little bit about what digital well-being means?
Yes, I mean, it's one of our beloved topics. So digital well-being is very much is the moment in which technology works for you rather than you work for technology, and you have this like beautiful way of using technology to improve your life and enhance your life. And we believe that there is the opportunity to do so, and technology has brought so many beautiful things. Even the fact that we can talk to each other right now is like a beautiful opportunity. Unfortunately, technology, and particularly technology right now in this decade, can be very overwhelming, because we are testing so many innovations so quickly, so fast. Like, we don't know, there is not a sort of politeness code, social code around interacting with technology. Like, I remember even just 10 years ago, it was very, very rude to answer a call while you're having dinner with someone. Now, people are like taking selfies, posting, answering. It's just evolved or moved along very fast. So in digital well-being, we often try to we've done a few digital well-being experiments in collaboration with Google to try and find and suggest ways to create a sort of digital detox day. So we were trying to find ways in which people would feel comfortable in leaving their phone behind, or sort of making their phone slightly less addictive for a day. Again, these are experiments and they're quite playful, but one of them, for example, is an app that allows you to print all the things you need from your phone for one day. So let's say you're going to the beach, or you want to take a day off on a Sunday. You can print all the information that you need from your phone for that day. So you can choose if you want the most important contacts with their number. You can choose if you want a map. Maybe you're going to see a friend, and at the back of the paper that would be the little map of your travel. If you have a digital ticket, you can print the barcode on this little piece of paper. And then literally, I think I have some here in the studio. Let me grab you one.
Yeah.
I have a collection. I think I did a few days of. So here you can see, you basically literally print an A4, and then you can fold it to make it like the size of your phone. And here it would be like the calendar events for the day, the most important contacts. I think the task. I have to feed the cat. The weather, like a ticket that I had, and then literally just a little journey.
Yeah.
So for this day, I left my phone at home, and I could just relax a little bit. Another one that we did was an envelope. Oh, I should have brought some props here for you. An envelope where you can literally put your phone in the envelope. So you can print out this A4, cut, and glue the envelope. And then you can literally put the phone in the envelope. There is an app, of course, that goes with it. And the app transforms your smartphone into a phone that can only take or receive call. So a dumb phone, no. Yeah. But it's something that you literally just put the phone in the pocket and then in the envelope, and then like you have the digits printed on this little envelope, so you can make call and receive calls, but nothing else. Mm-hmm. So you have a sort of reduced phone for a day that allows for communication, but not, constant. Constant interaction.
Yeah.
But yes, on that topic, if anyone, I'm a bit nerdy on that, but if anyone is interested, there is this paper from Xerox PARC that was written by Mark Weiser in the 70s that talks about calm technology and how technology should take a backseat in our life and enable us to do things, but not be in between us and life, not be like sort of a barrier to life. And it was written in the 70s, so it was extremely pioneering, and I think it's still very relevant today.
Yeah, I love that concept that technology kind of has become a barrier between us and life, and I think that is so true. We are looking at all these different innovations and different ways that consumers are slowing down and seeing how they're moving out of the city and into more rural areas, and picking up gardening and just trying to get away from all of the overwhelm. And especially right now, it's a lot. So that's definitely something.
And a lot of people, a lot of people in fashion have the dumb phone, like dummy phone. I think Anna Wintour had her little Nokia N95, I think, just to take. She has two phones. One wants to be connected, and one just like to take a call. So, but then you have to carry two phones. Well, if you use one envelope.
Who needs two phones? Just use the envelope. There you go. So, speaking of, on the topic of well-being and digital well-being, and, I'd love to hear about how you hold space for yourself. I mean, as a designer in the space that you're in, I know you work on so many different projects for consumer well-being, and a lot of them do touch on user experience pain points within the COVID world. So how are you, taking time for yourself, and how do you disconnect as someone who I'm assuming you're just constantly thinking of ideas, or you see things and you're getting inspired. Is it ever hard to shut off from that? Or is, the design process more of a therapeutic thing for you?
It is indeed. So I think I really try and shut off all operational tasks at a weekend and, after a certain time in the evening. And so by operational, I mean, you know, things like contract signed or meeting schedule, you know, these things that are sort of negative stress. Sometimes they're quite like, the creative process is very relaxing and is very beautiful, I think, and that I don't try to compartmentalize. So that could happen at any time. And again, I'm a true believer of being inspired. For me, definitely walking outside, walking even in the city, doesn't need to be in nature or anything, but looking around, you know, every time I take a car or a bus, I always look outside the window. Like I can look for hours. I think, you know, seeing people and looking, you know, at behaviors is so inspiring for me. So I guess what I try to block might be technology. You know, I've seen, you know, I've interviewed enough people with digital dependency to know that it's very bad. I've seen, you know, the dark side of some tech companies and what they know. They don't do anything crazy with your data, but they know so much about you that I know that it's very important to disconnect and to create boundaries. Like, for example, in our home, we have no basically, you know, no microphones or, you know, like the voice controlled.
Yeah, like a smart
I
home
shouldn't say
system.
brands, but yes, there's the smart home things. We don't have any of that because, you know, we know how they work in the background. We really try to keep the house as tech free as possible. Of course, we have our phones, our laptops, but we really try to keep it to a sort of minimum. And then, you know, I really connect with people in nature. That's the beauty of it. And keep being enthusiastic about life.
Yeah.
Which sometimes when you work in tech might be it's a bit scary sometimes. It's easy to go into the pessimistic side, but I think keeping a positive outlook will make us create positive innovation, positive inventions.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love all of that. You know, so many people are putting, you know, new apartments and apartment complexes are integrating these smart technologies in as kind of like a luxury package. And I think that's so interesting, especially obviously in urban areas. But I just think it's so fascinating that people are, you know, looking for this as an advantage. Obviously it has its advantages, you know, but just kind of like what is it that consumers are really looking for? You know, is it that extra assistance from the digital world, or do they really just, you know, want that extra piece and self-sufficiency?
It's a very good question. And also, like, I mean, I'm not an expert in this, so I don't think I should give anyone my advice on how to relax, but on how to disconnect, how to find refuge. But another thing that for me works very, very well is making things. Like, again, maybe because we work more in digital, the things we do are quite abstract. And so sometimes I love sewing. I make my own cosmetic, you know, like sort of natural cosmetics sometimes. I love ceramic. I love gardening, cooking. I'm not very good at any of that, but really just the process of spending time and making tangible things with your hands and being creative, but in a different way, you know, in a more, I think, free way. You know, there are less concern, there is less at stake for sure. So I think that's super, super good and therapeutic, and you really find your calm there.
Yes, 100% agree. I have experienced the same thing, especially during this time. You know, when the weather is nice and I can go outside and do my crafts, it's very comforting and calming and just takes you out of the world for a little bit. It's really wonderful. You know, touching on, like, you know, life in COVID, trying to find those, you know, places of refuge. You know, so many people have needed that help to navigate that space. And I loved that, you know, one of the apps that you guys have created at Special Projects is designed to help people, specifically in the UK, navigate COVID, but with a focus on community and allowing people to see that they aren't alone and that other people are in the same places as them, not physically, but in the center of the pandemic and where they're at. Are they staying home? Are other people staying home so you don't feel so left out or isolated? And like we were saying, we're in such a period of oversaturation with social media and technology, and I think that's a lot of cases doing more harm than good, because you're just stuck at home looking at your phone or your computer or your TV, and everything feels very loud right now. And I'd love to hear about how you think the digital community is changing, given this project that you guys have done and how beautifully it came together. How do you think that community is, going to be changing in the digital space?
That's a very good question, and it's maybe a question hard to answer fully, but I can tell you what I think. Again, I'm not an expert on that. For COVID, we created two open invention that are basically inventions that we put out there, which are, let me say, open source. So we are happy for people to essentially copy them, as long as hopefully they credit us. And one was for the track and trace app, like the app that every country is creating to track, again, the name is terrible, track and trace the COVID hotspots. And the other one instead is an invention for in-store kiosk. Like when you buy a a ticket at the station, or when you check out in a supermarket, those kiosks. And we tried and reinvent the interface on those kiosks to make it more hygienic, but playful and, magic at the same time.
Yeah, I love that one. I thought that was genius.
Yeah, good. And the app one, we really wanted to concentrate on community for two reasons. One is that, we experienced three hard lockdowns in the UK up to now. And something was quite interesting. What made those times okay were your immediate neighbors, the community around you, because in London, in the UK, we were allowed to go out individually for a walk or some sort of sport. But we couldn't go far. So of course we saw again and again the same people. So during these months of lockdown, you started to say hello to your neighbors, knowing your neighbors. So you actually got to know your immediate community, which is something quite strange in a massive city such as London. Also, everyone usually would have different time they would go out, different time they would go in, they would be traveling. So the chances of really seeing each other constantly was very slim. So community made, those lockdown days bearable, really. And in a way, like, the Italian singing from the balconies, trying to create this sort of community, all singing together. I'm Italian, so of course I was like, but here we had the clapping Thursday, so we would clap for the NHS outside of our door. But all these events, in a way, we're trying to make people really feel part of a community. And that's quite hard to see online. I mean, some people manage to have a group of followers, to have a community of people, but to me, they feel more like fan clubs, really, rather than a community of people that are actually there when you need them. They feel more people who you share the same passion with, which is good. So we were trying in the app to really bring to life that what you're doing, if you disclose your data, if you're happy to say, look, I was in this place, you're actually doing this for the good of the community, or contributing to the good of the community, which is something that in a lot of track and trace app, it doesn't come across. And then you just think, oh, why should I do it? You know, I feel totally fine. What should I say where I was? So we were trying to make people understand the bigger impact of their action and the fact that they are part of a community. But, you know, again, I hope we did the right thing. We were just guided by instinct on that.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's beautiful. And to hear about how you guys plan on integrating community into your work going forward, you know, as things start to open up again, you know, slowly but surely, you know, do you feel like people are going to want to maintain the same sense of community that we've established, or are there ways that we can kind of hold on to it a little bit longer, even though things have opened up again?
You know, again, this lockdown has shown us, like, sometimes it's been very, very sad, you know, and it's taken us away from loved ones, from traveling, but it also opened up the reality of, like, you know, remote working or remote interviews, or, you know, this morning I was on the phone with two people. One was in Geneva, one was in Boston. Now I'm in you know, in a call with you that you're in Boston, and it's so nice that you can do this now. You know, like it became more normal. Like before, you know, we could do video call, but no one was doing it. So I think it sort of opened up the possibility of a more global digital community, which is beautiful. Again, it opened up the frontiers. You know, I can be tutoring a school in South Africa now, and then half an hour later I can speak to an expert in Tokyo, and you know, it's like, it's very beautiful. It's amazing, I think, this aspect. Again, I'm not a community, you know, involvement expert, and I think we need to learn a lot. We're not active, you know, we're so focused on our project sometimes that we forget to speak to the outer world, to the digital world. We're very active and involved in our local community, but sometimes we should be more vocal in the digital one. But I believe I think it opened up some opportunity. We still need face-to-face contact, and this will not be replaced, and it shouldn't be replaced, but maybe brought something new to the table, which is the possibility of, you know, a global discussion daily, which is amazing.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. And I actually would love to circle all the way back kind of to the beginning real quick. You said that one of the stages of your creative process was you gather, you know, human-centered data from, you know, your muses, the real individuals. Could you kind of like break that down a little bit, and like, you know, who are these individuals? Are they just, you know, is this like a data survey? Are these people? I mean, obviously they're people, but you know, where do they come from?
But these are very real people. So I don't know if it's the same in fashion, but in design innovation, we have two types of research. So you have qualitative research and quantitative research. Like we're big advocate of the qualitative. So we literally spend time with people. So maybe 2 hours, maybe 6 hours, maybe we shadow them during a day of their life even. You know, I had to spend, a few years back now, I had to spend the whole day as a teenager in a school, like shadowing a teenager, but dressed as a teenager. So it was crazy. And then the day after, I had to shadow the teacher. And then the day after, it was a mobile phone user. And then the day after, I had to shadow a sales representative that was always in the car. So these people are very varied. We, you know, for each project they are different, and we're very careful in picking our muses, because we always try and pick someone that maybe is the, let me say, ideal customer, and then someone that is on the verge, that maybe are undecided, and then someone that in theory would never be your customer, because if we can convince it, we can find the frustration point for that person, then, you know, we really open up the possibilities. So again, they're very real people. They're experts in their own life, and we involve them every time in different ways. Sometimes our workshop again, sometimes our interviews, sometimes it's shadowing. we always create the research material. So we create these crazy activities that we do with them, almost to unlock their thinking and their creativity. And again, we don't ask them for ideas, we just ask them for their experience and what they like, what they dislike. But to do that in a more creative way, maybe we create little exercises to do together. And again, I've interviewed in these past 15 years, people who are in jail, doctors, a lot of doctors. I interviewed student children, I think ranging from 4 years old to 90 years old. I worked a lot with pro snowboarders. It's literally, it's amazing. You literally talk to so many different people from so many different walks of life. Always makes it interesting. It refreshes your thinking every time.
Yeah, I can only imagine how invaluable all of that information and experiences are. I mean, most people, they're expert in their own lives, but they never get to see other people's lives or experiences. And I think that's absolutely fantastic and so cool that you get to do that.
Yeah, it's true. I'm very blessed. I told you at the beginning. I think it's a very good job. Very cool work. Yeah.
Love it. Well, you've been so incredibly generous with your time today. Thank you so much for joining us. It was such a pleasure to, hear about your story and how you work and all of the amazing things that you do at Special Projects. So thank you so much, Clara, for being with us here today.
Oh, no, thank you, Amanda. It was a pleasure. It's been a very nice conversation. You thought of very interesting questions.
Thank you. And thank you all for tuning in. Please check us out, our page on YouTube at Fashion Snoops, and we will see you next time on the next Fireside Streams.